Title says it all. No interesting modifiers, no ifs, ands, or buts. We're gonna go through the Bioshock series. Best game comes first, last game is worst. This isn't really one of my retrospective videos, and it's not really one of my experimental review videos either. This is really just to clear the air and get you guys to see where I stand on all the Bioshock games.
Yay!
Alright, first and best game, Bioshock. Duh. Bioshock came out, it was groundbreaking, had a wonderful mix of fluid, guns, and ability-style combat. There was no need to do like you do in other games where you could use both and like cycle through menus and figure out, okay, I'm gonna use this spell now. You could just do it. It offered a lovely world and aesthetic to go through, a gripping plot, and the gameplay was always satisfying. It's not exactly a mystery as to why this game is frequently in the upper echelons of top 100 of all time lists and why it got so many awards when it came out.
Yay!
Second best game, Minerva's Den, the Bioshock 2 DLC. Minerva's Den follows in the footsteps of the original Bioshock game by telling a gripping story and allowing for fluid gameplay, and then it takes all the improvements made in Bioshock 2 and further improves them so you don't have any of the hang-ups that Bioshock 2 does. Minerva's Den is also short and sweet and allows you to get through everything in a reasonable amount of time without dragging out areas or having weird MacGuffin quests. You just go through the main plot line, twists and turns along the way, and you're out. It also had a lovely world building and stitched shut quite a few plot holes in the Bioshock franchise. Third best game.
Yay!
Bioshock 2. Yeah, I like it. I swear, I like this game. Bioshock 2 came out 2 years after the first Bioshock game came out, and despite all the adversity it faced, having only a fraction of the original team, and having only 2 years to be made, it was still a solid offering. Most of the gameplay elements were outright improved, from hacking to gunplay to upgrades to etc., and there were a few iffy moments like with Big Sister, but otherwise it was an upgrade. Unfortunately, it didn't quite have the same story appeal as the original Bioshock game did, so it often stands in the shadow of the original game, but it seems to be having a second wind over the last 5 years. Awkwardly standing next to the best 3 on the podium is Bioshock Infinite. While I have railed and railed against this game and picked it apart, it's still a solid shooter, even if it's not really a Bioshock game. I only put it on here for the name, and I'm really at a loss with this. It does have solid shooters, it does tell a gripping story at surface level, but it really abandons most of the tenets of Bioshock, so it only gets this high as it is based off its generic gameplay. Fifth best, as the descent into madness slowly begins. The There's Something in the Sea alternate reality game, while not really a game in a traditional sense, was still a very interesting series of puzzles that kept people interested while Bioshock 2 was in development. You got to be introduced to the premise and some of the characters in Bioshock 2 early on, and some of these puzzles look cool if you can figure out how to work them through various archiving sites and what have you. Sixth best or fourth worst, depending on how you look at things. All the Horde mode DLCs, like all of them in all the various games. There's not much to them. They're basically, let's take the existing engine formula and all the assets and just throw a cheap Horde mode out there for $5 to $10. It's not super complicated. It doesn't exactly have mass appeal beyond, okay, I want to kill another 3 or 4 hours in the Bioshock series, so it earns this spot. But believe me, there is a lot worse to come, so it gets a higher spot than others. I guess this is fourth worst. I've lost track already, but the next one in the list is all those half-baked remasters that came out a few years ago. While it was nice to see the Bioshock games modernized onto current systems, as well as being ported to nicer PC settings, these games are just, there's no excuse for how glitchy these are for basic facelifts. I have no idea why there are sequence-breaking, game-breaking, whatever you want to call them, bugs in the original Bioshocks remaster. It just makes no sense. What did you do? What did you tinker with for this to happen? And while it is nice to have something that runs a little better on my modern system, it also sucks that, unlike in the original game with the original experience, now I have to carefully save my way through because I don't know if the proper spider splicers are gonna spawn in Neptune's Bounty or not. This is starting to feel like a top 10 list. Burial at Seas Part 1 and 2 really don't fit the Bioshock motif despite actually being in Bioshock this time, but read more like Ken Levine's fan fiction inserting characters from his new franchise into his old franchise. This game self-inserts itself everywhere in the Bioshock lore, and I know it's a faux pas to call it a game, it's more of a DLC, and then on top of it all, it insists on being the Mary Sue linchpin to all of the Bioshock continuity, which is kind of insulting to the original game and the people that busted their butts making Bioshock 2 in such a short span of time, while Ken Levine got to have as much time as he wanted to make Infinite with as many resources and pushbacks as he needed. Burial at Sea also commits the massive faux pas of telling, not showing, in so many different occasions, and a solid third of this game is walking simulator. So why are we even bothering? It's funny, between the 4 hours that it takes for Minerva's Den and the 4 hours it takes for the Burial at Sea Part 1 and 2, you will do a lot more actual playing of the game in Minerva's Den as compared to this so-called lauded, everybody loves it fan fiction, which, believe me, some of the lines do read like they're some kind of fan fiction. Second from the worst. The Industrial Revolution, not quite ARG that came out if you pre-ordered Bioshock Infinite, was pretty much a stupid puzzle game with the Bioshock logo slapped onto it. You got a bit of flavor text between each little puzzle, and it's really just kind of annoying. I played this when it was coming out just to have something to sate myself for Bioshock Infinite while I was still waiting for it, and I think they gave you the special guns anyway later on, so there was no point in picking a side or doing anything. And come to think of it, I think the premise in the Industrial Revolution kind of got superseded when they redid the plot with like the chairman versus the Vox Populi. Okay, the moment some of you have been waiting for. Worst Bioshock game in the franchise. Prepare your angry comments. Bioshock Mobile. Bioshock Mobile has no reason to exist. It was a cool idea at first, but it is awful, awful execution. Why is this the worst, despite me having the Industrial Revolution be second worst and my known hatred of Burial at Sea? Well, because all those things, those took effort. Even the Horde mode took effort and thought put into it to figure out where we're placing the waves of bad guys. Bioshock Mobile had none of that. They didn't even get the game to properly work on iOS when it came out, and when the going got tough through iOS updates, 2K just up and quit and purged the game from the store. It's like they know better too. They put out the XCOM mobile, which was great, so what gives? That's really all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm glad that we got this all out on the table and we have a definitive list. Leave your angry opinions in the comments. I hate sign-offs and I think they're stupid. Bye. Excuse me, sir. I'm going to need those slippers. All right, let's see. Hey. Excuse you, sir. Please let go of my pajama or my sweatpants bottom leg. Okay, let's. I'm gonna get annihilated doing this. I propose a trade. Would you like this flamingo in place of this Oh, wow, that actually worked. Do we have a deal? Wow, I was actually expecting to get pretty messed up from that. What an amicable wobbly boy. Just so filled with sauce that he wobbles. Also, if you're wondering why Viz is here, it's because whenever he misbehaves at night and starts screaming at us at the foot of our bed, we move the litter box from where it usually goes to here and put him here. Oh yes, the mousy toy. You're not even going to chase after it? You're just content with your flamingo? Are you content with some scratches? Wow. Wow, okay. Not even a little scratch? You gotta inspect the hand first. Scritches? Scritches? Why do you hate me?